In the blistering heat of a quiet country road just outside the city limits of Syracuse, New York, a 14-year-old black girl stood alone. Her name was Zaria Monroe. Her shoes were scuffed, her uniform shirt untucked and wrinkled, her backpack tattered and heavy with books and tools. But there was nothing ordinary about her. Zaria, who had spent her entire life being overlooked, ignored, and underestimated, was about to step into the eye of a storm she didn't even know she had been born to dismantle. The sun beat down on the cracked asphalt as a sleek, black Mustang GT hissed and puffed white steam from beneath its hood. Parked halfway into a shallow ditch, it looked almost embarrassed to be broken down in the middle of nowhere. Next to it, a man paced back and forth, muttering curses into a dead cell phone. His Italian loafers kicked up dust with every step, his tailored suit absorbing the sun like a sponge. He was the type of man who didn't get ignored. His name was Logan Caldwell, son of Sterling Caldwell, the real estate magnate whose empire stretched across most of Manhattan's skyline. From the penthouse offices of Caldwell International to the political cocktail parties where power was traded like stock options, Logan was expected to inherit it all. But today, in the middle of nowhere, he couldn't even get his car to start. Zaria had seen him before on television, though she didn't recognize him first. To her, he was just another angry man in a suit, too impatient to see what was wrong. She stepped closer, cautiously. "Your radiator's leaking," she said softly. Logan turned to face her. At first, he didn't speak. Then, with a wave of his hand and a dismissive scoff, he said, "Don't touch it. This isn't a toy." Zaria didn't move. Her dark eyes were calm, steady. She looked at the steam curling like a whisper from the engine block and smelled the faint, sugary scent in the air. Coolant. Her uncle Darius had taught her that smell. He used to say, "If your nose works, your engine can talk." "I'm not trying to touch anything," Zaria replied. She started to walk away. "Wait," Logan called after her, a touch of something he wasn't used to feeling creeping into his voice uncertainty. "You said radiator?" Zaria turned, nodded. "It's probably your hose clamp or maybe a cracked inlet. You'll overheat if you keep trying to crank it." She reached in her backpack and pulled out a small tool roll, its leather edges worn smooth. "I can patch it. Enough to get you to town." Logan stared at the tools, then at her face. She didn't flinch under his gaze. After a long pause, he said, "Fine, but if you scratch the paint." "I won't," Zaria cut in. She was already crouching beside the car, scanning the undercarriage like a surgeon about to make an incision. As she worked, Logan watched her. Something about her movements made him uneasy, not because they were careless, but because they were precise, practiced, confident. He wasn't used to being in the presence of people who knew something he didn't, especially not a 14-year-old girl with duct tape and grease-stained fingers. It wasn't until she reached to pull her sleeve back that he noticed the ring. A deep red ruby caught the sunlight, glowing like an ember on her small, calloused hand. The ring was too large for her, held in place by a thin loop of black thread. He froze. "Where did you get that?" he asked, his voice suddenly hoarse. Zaria looked up, blinking. It was my mom's." Logan's stomach dropped. The memory came rushing in like a broken dam. That ring, that exact ring had been part of a custom commission to matching pieces made decades ago. He remembered his father yelling, accusing him of stealing one. He had taken it as a boy and given it away to a girl in a place he was never supposed to remember. A place called Havenwood. No one knew about Havenwood. Not really. It had been marketed as a private shelter for orphans. But behind its clean facade and philanthropic smiles, something darker had taken root. And that ring was a scar. "Your mom," Logan said slowly. "What was her name?" Zaria wiped her hands on a rag. "Janelle Monroe. She used to be a nurse. Said she worked somewhere called Haven something. I don't know. She didn't talk about it much." Logan took a step back, as if the ground beneath him had suddenly gone soft. He knew that name. She wasn't supposed to have a child. She wasn't supposed to survive. And now, her daughter stood before him unaware that her very existence was the key to unraveling an empire built on deception, experiments, and betrayal. He didn't speak again as she finished taping the hose and tightening the clamp. The engine turned over on the first try. Smooth. Quiet. Try not to drive too far before getting it fixed properly, Zaria said, packing up her tools. Logan nodded absently. Then, after a pause, he asked, "Do you know who your father was?" Zaria shrugged. "Never met him. Mom said it didn't matter." Logan stared at her. For the first time in years, he felt something other than ambition pulsing behind his ribs. Guilt. Fear. Maybe even awe. The empire his father had built was based on secrets. Secrets like Project Havana, genetic experiment meant to create heirs for the ultra-rich, children bred in silence, raised to replace. Zaria had been a glitch in the system. But now, she was back and wearing proof of everything they had tried to erase. He handed her his business card, fingers trembling slightly. "If you ever want answers, real answers, call me." Zaria looked at the card, but didn't take it. "I don't need answers," she said. "I just need people to stop lying." Then she turned and walked away. Logan watched her go, the sound of her sneakers scuffing the gravel slowly fading. Back in the city, the ripples of that encounter would soon become waves. In the Caldwell penthouse, Sterling Caldwell reviewed security footage from a private satellite feed. He paused the frame on Zaria's face, then zoomed in on the ring. "Activate contingency," he told his assistant. From that moment on, Zaria Monroe's life would never be simple again. Her quiet neighborhood became a surveillance zone. Unmarked cars lingered near her school. And when she returned home 3 days later, she found her uncle's garage ransacked, files missing, tools smashed, Uncle Darius gone. A single note lay on the workbench. She shouldn't have worn the ring. Zaria didn't cry. Instead, she slipped the ruby ring off her finger, turned it over in her palm, and noticed for the first time the tiny engraving inside. LS. She didn't know what it meant, but she knew where to start looking. And she knew who could help her do it. The girl who once fixed engines now had to dismantle an empire, because what they had built in the shadows was never meant to survive the light. And Zaria Monroe, the girl they never saw coming, was about to show them what truth looked like when it burned.